Man, welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel. What a guest we have with us on this Wednesday. We decided to put politics aside, but we are talking politics because elephant poaching, wildlife conservation, all that is politics. And who better to talk about it than Dr. Paula Kahumbu, CEO of Wildlife Direct, the initiator of a campaign we all have come to know as Hands Off Our Elephants, with the First Lady as the patron. Tweets coming in. Stano, how are they coming in?
Fast and wide.
Fast and wide? Okay, let me read a couple. You have some fans out there. Listen to this. Mokuhe says, every marathon deserves cheerleaders. So I will carry my pom-poms to Lewa Marathon and cheer Paula Kahumbu as she runs.
Great, I can't wait.
Wow.
That's great.
Linus Mwangi says, what exactly can we as ordinary Kenyans and youth do to help? One thing, what can they do?
Well, this is why we're having our event on the 4th, Jeff. We want young people to come. I don't want to tell people what to do. I think it's really important that people come, understand the issues, and identify for themselves where their role is. We have artists, dancers, singers. We have children, teachers, scientists. There are so many different roles that people can play. We want them to come with us on the 4th of July and actually define exactly what they're going to do.
There's a association called PERC International. Ever heard of them?
Yes.
PERC International. They say we are part of Wildlife Warriors. So on the 2nd, and be happy to contributing. So see you then.
Fantastic. We're so looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good show.
It's going to be amazing.
All right. SGR. SGR.
Yes.
Standard Gauge Railway has been traversing the country, going through land after land, park after park, home after home, including Alan Donovan's. And your thoughts, because you have a petition going in this, right? Your thoughts are what?
Jeff, I started a petition a couple of days ago because I'm really concerned about what is happening. The SGR original plan, for which there was an environmental impact assessment done and approved by NEMA, so they have a license to have a trail that follows the existing railway line, and that makes sense. The railway line's already there, you just put another railway line next to it. Yes, some homes will have to be demolished, they will be compensated. Alan Donovan's was one of them. What he did in December of last year was started a campaign of his own to persuade the Cabinet Secretary for Culture and Heritage to declare his home a national heritage. Now his home is a beautiful house. He built it 21 years ago. 21 years, Jeff, that's the age of my son. Okay, it's not a very old house. It's built in the style of a West African house. It's not a Kenyan heritage. Inside his home are some very beautiful artifacts, collections that he's gotten from all across Africa, beautiful works of art. But they're just simply things which you can pick up and move to another place. If those items are valuable, they could be moved to a different place. What we're asking the President to do and the Cabinet Secretary to do is to not change the route of the Standard Gauge Railway. Because Alan got his house registered as a national heritage, which I believe was erroneous, and we're going to challenge it, the Ministry of Railways or the Department of Railways have rethought the alignment of the railway. They're putting it into the national park. The reason being to protect national heritage. This is Alan's house. It's not a national heritage.
What's it going to do if they reroute it just a little bit, just a few feet away?
They're not rerouting it just a few feet. They're taking a chunk of the national park, Jeff. This national park, Nairobi National Park, is the only national park in a capital city in the world, okay? It is one of the largest rhino sanctuaries in the world. That's rhino habitat. Rhinos are a critically endangered species. It's the oldest national park in East and Central Africa. How can it possibly be less valuable than Alan Donovan's home? I just don't get it. I don't know how he persuaded people. I think they had the wool pulled over their eyes. And I think his house should be de-gazetted as a heritage. He should dismantle it and rebuild it somewhere else, just the way we did with Grogan's house, which was, demolished by people who loved the house, and it was rebuilt in Karen. And so if you love that heritage, you can go and see it, and it's fantastic. That's what Alan Donovan should do. He should not be threatening Kenya's heritage. He's not even a Kenyan. No, seriously.
Ouch. It's a nice house, though.
So is mine. Mine's older than that. I've got a beautiful house. It's not a heritage.
But the railway from his house, you can see the railway as it is, it runs through the park. Does it not?
No, it does not. It runs across his lawn. It is not in the park. It's just north of the park.
Okay, so what about all the other 59 factories that are supposed to be in the way of this railway? What do we do with them? You know, from Bamburi to Rhino to all those factories along the way.
That's a totally unrelated issue, Jeff, and I'm not even going to go into it. What I'm concerned about is when an individual tries to position his personal property as more valuable than a national park in the sovereign nation of Kenya. I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable. And I think Kenyans should come out in numbers. I think we should have a march, we should demonstrate, and I want millions of people to sign my petition, which already has 3,000 signatures in just 3 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I think people realize
How do they get involved?
all you got to do is go onto the Avaz website. The petition is there. You can find it on my Facebook page. You can find it on Twitter. The petition is basically to Uhuru Kenyatta to stop the standard gauge railway from harming the national park.
And tomorrow, June 25th, being your birthday,
It is.
they should give you a birthday present.
I never ask people for presents, but this year I'm going to.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
All I want is your signature. Sign the petition. Let's send a message to the president that we love this park. We grew up with it. Our parents grew up with it. Our grandparents grew up with it.
Yeah. This guy we went to school with called David Kamal, do you know him?
Yes.
Calls himself Kamal Wagashige now. Doctor. Like you, doctor.
Great.
He says, "Go, Paula." and then he says, "Tell them to move Donovan into the game park."
That has been one suggestion, is that just put the railway around his house this way. I don't think that'll happen.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a touchy issue. If an individual can gazette their property, which is their right.
But how does someone manage to do that, Paula? How does someone manage to do that? Come on.
Well, we'd like there to be an investigation as to how that actually happened. I mean, you simply make a case to the ministry that this is national heritage, and many properties have been declared national heritage or national monuments. But the rules are that they have to be quite old, more than 59 years old. This is the 21-year-old building. It's not even a Kenyan building, it's a replica of a West African building. I don't understand how that could possibly be a national monument.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to really question what was going on in the minds of the people who signed that Gazette notice.
What about all the pylons that have already been stuck in the ground and going right through the park? Is that okay?
So, one of the saddest things about what's happening in Kenya today, Jeff, is development is happening at such a breakneck speed that conservationists just can't keep up with all the different threats to the parks. The pylons are a problem. The oil pipelines under the parks are a problem. Roads, railways, they're all problems. And the conservation community could come together, and we've actually created what we're calling the Conservation Alliance of Kenya, to bring together all the conservation organizations so that we can speak with one voice and lobby together in a unified way. Because some of these things, on your own, I mean, do you remember there was the oil drilling that was proposed in Arabuko, Sukuke?
Yeah.
It was stopped by a community down there. There is the southern bypass. There was a massive garbage dump to be done next to Lake Nakuru National Park. Well, we can't do everything in a little piecemeal way. We need environmental conservation to be part of our development agenda, not a threat to our development agenda.
Let me ask you an unfair question, Paula, but I'm sure people are thinking about that. Again, we talk about Kenya's development, the development of Nairobi. We're probably the only capital city with a park right adjacent to it in the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Makes it very special.
Do we need the park?
Of course we need the park.
For what, Paula?
Jeff, I'll tell you a story about New York. I mean, just think of how valuable Central Park is as
Central Park
as real estate.
is like 2 kilometers squared, huh?
No, it's quite a lot bigger than that. But Central Park is extremely valuable real estate.
The richest piece of real estate on the planet. Okay.
Okay. Do they need it? You'd say no. Most people say no. Actually, of course they need it. Central Park is part of the identity of New York. It's actually something that brings people to New York. They've also done some very interesting studies on Twitter, looking at the quality of tweets that people make in geotagged, right, for different parts of the island of New York. Mm-hmm. And they found that the happiest tweets occur when people are closer or in Central Park. Now, I can't explain to you what it is about open space, greenery, trees, grass, flowers. People are happier, less stressed, and you know what that means? They're healthier. The cost of the economy is lower, right? There are all these values that we tend not to capture in our economies and our GDP, but they do matter. The fact that we have so many sick people in our country has a lot to do with concrete, poor quality water, air pollution, stress, living in these, packed into these places. National parks are important spaces. It's not just recreation. It's for our mental health, and that's the well-being of our nation.
We've got City Park, we've got Karura Forest, Nairobi National Park. That's a great piece of real estate. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
You better be. Because I don't want to be on somebody else's bench doing a petition against Jeff Koinange.
Exactly. What did I get myself into?
Look, of course, every piece of Kenya is an important piece of real estate. But we made a decision in 1946 to set this piece of land aside. President Kenyatta signed a document that said we will preserve it into perpetuity for our children and future grandchildren. What gives us the right to take Nairobi Park away from future generations? How can we be that arrogant? It is such an important piece of land. It's got wild rhinos, lions, buffaloes, giraffes, elands. It has 1,500 species of birds. It makes Nairobi the capital city in the world with the most species of birds. I know most people probably don't really care about those things, but it sets Nairobi apart. It's one of the reasons why people come to Nairobi, is because we have this incredible diversity right there in the capital city.
Yeah. One more devil's advocate point. Johannesburg has a zoo. You've been to Joburg Zoo?
I wouldn't even step into it, no. I'm sorry. Putting animals in cages? Yeah, it's jails. It's just jail.
So what about our orphanage here?
I would shut it down.
Our animal orphanage?
I don't think what we are doing there is in any way respectful to the animals that, our people respect and have pride in. Kenya is a country of wild animals, not animals behind bars. The orphanage was originally set up to be a place as a halfway house for injured animals to be treated and rehabilitated and returned to the wild. It's become a zoo. And it's very unfortunate because millions and millions of children go there, and what they experience when they go there is animals that have neurotic behavior. They run around in circles, they're not well, they're physically not in good condition. What are we teaching our children? When we have a national park just a meter away, why aren't we taking our children in buses into the parks to do experiments, to count insects, to watch birds, to count zebras? That is the kind of quality experience we should be giving our children, not looking at animals behind bars and throwing things at them. I feel really strongly about that, actually.
Clearly. How big is the park?
Nairobi National Park is 117 square kilometers. It's very small.
Wow. That's a lot of buildings and parks.
It's actually an extraordinary park. When you're in the park, and I live on the other side of the park, in the morning when you see the sunrise and you see the city of Nairobi
as a backdrop,
yeah, of this incredible savanna, and savannas are disappearing across Africa, so we have this incredible savannas full of wildlife, and we have something like 27 different species of antelopes alone. It's extraordinary what we have there. People don't go there enough. When I took Mugo Kibati to the park, he thought I was lying, and it's only when we drove up to a pride of lions and he couldn't believe it. He was just totally blown away. We need to find ways of getting more Kenyans into the parks with people who know about the parks and know about the animals, because sometimes people just drive around and throw their takataka out the windows. We need people to be treated to mind or life-changing experiences in our parks with our wildlife. Yeah. The experiences we give to our tourists, we should be giving that to our fellow Kenyans.
Yeah, absolutely. Paula, looking down the line, can we preserve 3 of our big 5, namely the lion, the rhino, and the elephant? Can we do that going forward so that my 7-year-old can see wild animals in the wild where they're supposed to be when he grows up?
Of course we can, Jeff. Of course we can. But we can't without taking actions. It's no good, all these words, all these promises, all these declarations. The actions have to follow. We haven't had enough action attached to those words. We've got to stop the development that threatens our protected areas and that's fragmenting our parks and preventing animals from moving along their migrations. We've got to stop habitat degradation. We've got to manage our livestock well. We need to manage it more effectively. And we need to stop the poaching. There's a lot of poaching going on in Kenya, and it's not just elephants and rhinos. Bushmeat has become the #1 threat to our antelopes across the country.
Bottom line, are we losing the war on poaching? I mean, yes, the numbers have gone down. You said this year or last year, or right now it's about 10 a month, you said? About 10 a month.
Yeah. We're not losing the war on poaching. We have the ability in Kenya to stop the poaching currently. But you look across the border in Tanzania. Last year, Tanzania lost between 12 and 15,000 elephants.
Whoa.
In one park alone, Ruaha, they lost 50% of their elephants in 1 year. So what we're seeing in Tanzania is the poaching is moving up in waves. The Selous has declined by about 70% of its population is gone. It's coming up through Ruaha. Now southern Serengeti is affected, and Masai Mara is already being
coming
poached.
this way.
Exactly. So while at the moment we're feeling a bit safe and we're kind of bragging about the fact that we have such low poaching in Kenya, we will not be able to stop the wave when it hits us unless we take necessary actions. And it's not just anti-poaching. It's actually about our relationship with our neighbors. It's about our relationship with the countries where the demand is, China, Thailand, Vietnam, and those kinds of places. We have to take political actions, diplomatic actions, and of course, address the demand itself.
Yeah.
The people who buy these products, shame on them. Shame on them. They have to stop.
Bottom line, don't take our eye off the ball.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what if people at home watching right now have a piece of ivory in their house, or piece of animal skin, couch or ottoman or something? Are they bad people?
In my view, anyone who has a piece of ivory, whether they received it through inheritance, were given it as a gift, or bought it, they're part of the problem, because that is the demand. If during the Holocaust, they were using human products, skin and bones and things. It was valuable at the time. Would you dream today of keeping such a thing on your person or in your house? No. It's associated with something so despicable. How can you keep holding on to ivory at a time when elephants are being murdered 100 per day? How can you possibly think it makes sense to keep that ivory? I think that all the ivory that's in everyone's homes needs to be given back to the Wildlife Authority, to be destroyed, or to be put in a museum so that children down years to come will see the folly of our humanity.
Well put. Speaking of movies, or speaking of ivory, there's a movie coming. I had to mention that before we finish.
I knew you were going to.
Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, making a movie about Richard Leakey.
Yes, they are.
And poaching.
Yes.
And his life, is that what it is?
It's a movie, well, I can only tell you what I've seen. It's a movie about Richard Leakey's life, yes. And it's a movie about elephants. It's a love affair with elephants.
Is that right?
Yes.
And Brad is playing Richard?
That's right.
Come on.
Yes.
Are you in it?
No, I don't think so. Nobody's told me if I am. Damn, I want my royalty.
Exactly. And they're coming in the next few months, is that it?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, it's going to be
Jeff, I'm
sometime this
sorry.
year.
Yes. The idea is that it will be filmed this year.
Is this an out of Africa 30 years later experience?
I hope it's going to be 10 times better. We need it. We need it for our tourism, we need it for our elephants. And we need it for the world to fall in love with elephants. We need Chinese people to know what it is that's happening because of their lust for ivory. I think it's going to make the world fall in love with Africa and fall in love with elephants, and that is the best gift that Angelina and Brad could ever give us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you get to talk to them, just say, a small role. Small. Anything.
Sure.
Talk to their people to talk to their people. You got about a minute left, Paula. You look into that camera there. Talk to the nation about what they should do, what we can do as a nation to save these beautiful animals.
Well, there's a lot we can do. As Kenyans, we have always loved our wildlife. Our ancestors have. Many of our tribes treat elephants and other animals as their totems and as spiritual creatures. I think we have to reconnect with wildlife. I want all Kenyans to go to the parks, spend a day watching animals, find out about our extraordinary heritage, and take whatever steps you can to save it.
Well put, Paula, well put. Karago Mbiru says, in the same way you're educating Chinese children, are you educating Kenyan children against poaching?
Absolutely. We do a lot of work with Kenyan children. We take busloads of kids into the parks. We did a study with children in Nairobi National Park and in Amboseli, and we gave them cameras and we asked them to take photographs of zebras. And these kids, I mean, most people find a zebra very boring, but these kids get to take a picture of a zebra, and using a technology called IBIS, which is developed by Princeton University, we can read the stripes like a barcode reader. Can you imagine? Every single zebra has a story on its stripes, right?
Every single one.
Every single zebra is unique. So using these barcode reading technology, these kids can get involved in computers, IT, technology, and of course conservation, and take their chip from their camera. We will tell them how many zebras there are in the national park. We did it in Nairobi Park and Amboseli. It was such a success that people were begging us to keep doing it every weekend, to have a day when people can come and participate in doing what we're calling citizen science. So participating in helping us to count our wildlife.
Nice. Is the zebra in my living room, is that okay? Is that poaching?
You've got a zebra in your living room?
It's an ottoman. Is that okay?
Is it real?
I don't know if it's real. I'll check the stripes.
I'd get rid of it.
Oh, come on. It's pretty.
Of course it's pretty. It's prettier on the animal.
I never thought of that.
Somebody killed an animal so that you could have an ottoman. Jeff?
It wasn't me.
Anyway, no, I know. There are loads of people have them. But
Dr. Paula, good to see you.
thank you.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you very much.
What's the, how do they get in touch with this petition thing online? Wildlife Direct?
Wildlife Direct, or check my Facebook profile and you'll find the petition there.
Thank you so much. Good stuff. Nice talking to you. Good luck. Say hello to Dr. Leakey for me.
I'll do that. Thank you.
And Brad and Angelina and all those guys. Dr. Paula Kahumbu, beauty and brains. I can say that, right? It's okay. It's not beauty and brains. Why lie? Passionate about our wildlife, insisting our parks should be just that, parks for the animals. And bottom line, we cannot afford to take our eyes off the ball when it comes to poaching, because they are coming up north, believe me, all the way from South Africa through Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania. Kenya will be next. I lived in a country called Ivory Coast once. Ivory Coast. They called it that because it was full of elephants. Now, barely a handful of elephants in La Côte d'Ivoire. Think about that, folks. Think about it. As you keep tweeting at Paula Kahumbu, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag #SaveWildlife. Thanks so much for watching. Tomorrow night, right here, Thursday, you know what it's all about? Inspiration. We've got Kenya's latest champion coming on this very bench. The javelin superstar himself, Julius Yego. Know him?
Yes, absolutely.
Great guy.
Amazing.
Smoky.
Yeah.
He can throw that spear.
Yeah.
Julius Yego, right here tomorrow night. Make sure you keep it tuned right here to Kenya's television network. Thanks so much for watching. Good night. Good luck. Thank you.